My name is Liana. I am 15 years old, and I'm in the 10th grade. If you met me at school, you would probably describe me as quiet but cheerful. I sit by the window in English class. I doodle in the corners of my notebook. I laugh too loudly when my best friend tells jokes. I worry about exams. I dream about becoming a writer someday. I used to believe that life moved in straight lines: school, college, career, happiness. But sometimes life bends in ways we don't expect. I live in the city with my parents. My father works in an office downtown, and my mother manages everything at home. We rent a small 2-story house. It has thin walls, creaky stairs, and a basement that always smells slightly damp. For years, it felt like home. There was a man who rented the basement. His name was John. He didn't talk much. He always seemed tired, sometimes unsteady. I noticed he would stare at me whenever we crossed paths on the stairs or outside the gate. I never liked that stare. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't kind. It made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't fully explain. I told myself I was imagining it. One evening, my parents had to go out unexpectedly. A family matter. Something urgent. We won't be long, my mother said, adjusting her scarf. Lock the doors. Don't open them unless it's us. I know, I replied, trying to sound mature. After they left, the house felt unusually large. Every small sound echoed: the refrigerator humming, the ticking clock, the wind brushing against the windows. I finished my homework. I scrolled on my phone. I tried to ignore the strange nervousness growing inside me. Then came a knock on the door, 3 quick knocks. My heart leaped. I called out, no answer. Another knock. I didn't check the window. I didn't look through the peephole. I simply assumed it was my parents. And I opened the door. The moment I saw him standing there, something inside me dropped. I tried to close the door immediately, but he pushed forward. Everything that followed happened too quickly. I remember fear freezing my body. I remember my mind screaming while my voice felt trapped somewhere deep inside. He was holding me tightly. He was eating my breast. He was biting and tearing my cheek. I won't describe the details. Some experiences are not meant to be replayed, only understood. What I felt that night was not just fear. It was confusion. I couldn't believe something like this was happening in my own home. When my parents returned, they found me sitting on the floor near the couch, staring at nothing. My mother rushed to me. Liana, what happened? I couldn't speak at first. My body was shaking so badly my teeth chattered. The next few hours felt like a storm: questions, phone calls, police officers, bright lights, concerned faces. I felt small, smaller than I had ever felt before. The days after, people think the hardest part is the night itself. But sometimes the hardest part is the silence that follows. At school, everything looked normal. The lockers were still noisy. Teachers still gave assignments. My friends still complained about math, but I felt different. I kept asking myself the same question. Why did I open the door? That one decision replayed in my head over and over. If I had waited, if I had checked, if I had been smarter, maybe everything would be different. Guilt is a heavy thing. It sits on your chest and makes it hard to breathe. I stopped sleeping properly. I jumped at sudden noises. I avoided being alone in any room. One afternoon, my father sat beside me on my bed. He looked tired, more tired than I had ever seen him. "Liana," he said softly, "look at me." I didn't want to. I felt ashamed. But when I finally met his eyes, they were full of something I hadn't expected. Pain, yes, but also love. "This was not your fault," he said firmly. I shook my head. Tears rolled down my face. "It was," I whispered. I opened the door, gently held my hands. "You trusted your home to be safe. That is not a mistake. That is innocence." That word stayed with me, innocence, learning to heal. We moved out of that house not long after. I couldn't bear the sound of those stairs anymore. In our new apartment, everything felt unfamiliar. New walls, new neighbors, new routines. For a while, I hated change. But slowly, I realized something. The house had changed. But I was still me. My parents arranged for me to see a counselor. At first, I didn't want to talk. I thought speaking about it would make it more real. But my counselor told me something powerful. Silence protects pain. Voice weakens it. Week by week, I began to speak. Not every detail, not all at once, just small pieces. And every time I spoke, I felt a tiny bit lighter. I joined a self-defense class. The first day, I felt nervous standing in that room. But when I learned how to stand strong, how to move with confidence, something shifted inside me. I wasn't learning out of fear. I was learning out of strength. At school, I started writing more. Poems, short reflections, stories about girls who survived storms. My English teacher once wrote on my essay, "Your voice is powerful." I stared at that sentence for a long time. Powerful, for months. I had felt powerless. Maybe she saw something I didn't yet see in myself, facing the truth. The man who hurt me faced consequences. The legal process wasn't easy. There were statements, questions, and moments when I felt exposed all over again. But I chose to speak, not because it was easy, because it was right. And when the process was over, I felt something unexpected, not happiness, not relief exactly, but closure. Like a door had finally been locked properly. Who I am now. I am still 15. I still worry about exams. I still laugh at silly jokes. I still argue with my mom about curfew sometimes. But I also understand something deeply now. Strength is not about never being hurt. Strength is about standing up after you've been hurt. There are nights when memories return. Healing is not a straight road. It curves. It pauses. It continues. But I am no longer afraid of my own story, because my story does not end with that night. It continues with every step I take forward. If you are listening to this, if you have experienced something that made you feel small, afraid, or ashamed, please hear me. It was not your fault. You are not broken. You are not alone. There is life after pain. There is strength after fear. Sometimes the worst night of your life becomes the moment you discover who you truly are. That night tried to take away my sense of safety. Instead, it taught me courage. It tried to silence me. Instead, It gave me a voice. My name is Liana. I am 15 years old. And this is not the story of what happened to me. This is the story of how I rose after it. And I am still rising. If you liked this story, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support means a lot to me. I will be back soon with more stories to help you learn English. Take care and remember, you are strong, you are brave, you deserve and respect. See you next time.